Hello, my name is Gary and this is the Beech Creek Design video series. Today's shop tip is about making a router base with a template guide. The accuracy is critical because the guide and the router bit must be centered to one another. Please join me while I demonstrate how I make my router bases. In some router operations, a larger base may be required. If a template guide is also needed, you've added more difficulty to the build. The template guide and the router bit must be aligned, otherwise you will get an overcut on one side of the router and an undercut on the opposite side. Also, if the inner diameter of the guide and the size of the router bit are close to the same, the bit may rub on the inside of the guide. I'm going to use my 690 Porter cable router. Has the removable base. 3 screws holds it on. We'll take those loose. We'll also need a template guide set. This kit is Porter cable. It has the standard sizes. You'll need some material to make your base from. I'm going to use some Lexan. I have 1/4 inch thick. I've already located a center hole. That's where we're going to install the template guide. In order to install the template guide, we're going to have to drill and counterbore a hole. The OD of the template guides that I have are 1 3/8". So I'll use 1 3/8 Forstner bit. The threaded portion is 1 3/16". My set doesn't include 1 3/16", so I'm going to use 1 1/4" Forstner bit. It still has enough step to secure the template guide in place. I'll also need a drill bit and a countersink for the mounting holes on the base. We're here at the drill press. We're ready to drill the hole to install the template guide in our new base. I have a sacrificial board on the drill press table to protect the table and to protect my drill bit. I also have a couple of clamps set up so that once we get the material in place, we can securely clamp the material down. We don't want the material to move because we're going to do a couple of operations in one setup. I also have a center punch mark on my material so that I can locate where I want the template guide to go. We'll place the material on the drill press. We'll bring the Forstner bit down close to the material. We're going to use the center point of the Forstner bit to locate the center punch mark on our material. Slide it over. Once it's located, we press the bit down, press the material down onto the board, and we're ready to clamp it down. Once the material is clamped in place, your bit and your center punch mark should be aligned. And this is the 1 1/4" Forstner bit for the through hole, which is the thread clearance on our template guide. We're going to drill a 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch deep so that when we do the next operation and drill the counter bore, we can set our template guide down into place and ensure that this face here is either flush with the surface of the base or slightly below. Now that we have the material set up, we're ready to drill the holes for the template guide. I have the speed set fairly slow and we're ready to drill. Okay, we now have our through hole done. Now we'll set up and put the other bit in. This bit is the 1 3/8, and it's going to be the same size as the OD of the template guide. We only need to go down 1/8 of an inch, which is half the thickness of this. That's the thickness of the shoulder on this template guide. Okay, now we have the through hole and the counter bore cut. We can try our template guide. We're just below the surface of our base. We don't want this to protrude up because it will catch on your material. Just below the surface is fine, either flush or just below. I have the template guide mounted in the new base. I mounted a 1/4 inch internal diameter template guide so that I can use this 1/4 inch rod that I had in the shop. We're going to transfer the screw holes from this base to the new plastic base. What I'm going to use is what's called a transfer screw set. Now this is 5/8 diameter, a little bit larger so you can see what it is. But it threads down into the hole. It has a hardened point on one end. You screw it down into the hole and leave this point protruding above the surface. Put your new material on, tap the top of it, and this point will transfer to the new material. And it'll give you the center of the threaded hole. Screws that I have in the base on my router are number 10 by 24 threads per inch screws. So I had a set that was that size. I looked them up online. They run $7 to $12. Amazon and a few other places have them. You screw them into your holes with the point up. You want the point to be protruding just a little bit above the surface. Take your 1/4 inch rod, put it in the collet. You want to snug the collet up. It doesn't have to be real tight, but you want it snug so that everything's pulled into place and it's straight up just like it's going to be running. You take and slide your new base over the rod. Note where your screws are located because you're going to have to hit right over the top of them. So I'll take that, take and tap, tap, and tap. Now I've already done this one, so I'm not going to hit it again. And once you remove it, you'll have 3 points corresponding to your 3 screws in your base. Now I've circled these so they'll be easier to locate once I get to the drill press. Okay, we've got our holes. We've got our hole drilled for our template guide. We've got our holes drilled to mount the base onto the router. We're going to insert the template guide. Put our screws in. Double check everything. Everything's below the surface. Set screws are slightly receded. Looks like a rod goes right straight in. Everything's centered up. Looks like it's going to work. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my website at beechcreekdesign.com. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, all the usual places. Thanks again. Have a great day. Goodbye.